JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. January 22nd, 2024. Let me just get on here really quick. Not much to talk about. I always say that, but then I rant for about 25 minutes. But markets all-time highs on Friday, and then some continuation today. A pullback. Looked like we are going to go red. Teetered. Bounced a little bit back on the SPY. We're sitting here at 43.52, up about 0.25%. As earnings season starts to heat up, we have Netflix, Tesla, IBM, Intuitive Surgical, some of the bigger names. I think Visa, MasterCard. There's a whole list of them, but only 250 so companies report this week. Then it really starts to pick up the following weeks. We also have the first read on fourth quarter GDP. I believe that's Thursday, and PCE data, which is on Friday. So if all that comes in line, figure some chop here, and I put on the watch list. There's always that saying, new highs begets new highs. Typically, once you break through those thresholds, it's a lot easier to head higher, I guess, is the thought process there. So I'm not saying we're getting to 500 on the SPY in the next week or so, but there's definitely probably a little room to overshoot, which we're already above the upper Bollinger Band coming into today, and then go from there. It's just crazy. Market's up. I think the SPY's up 11 out of the past 12 weeks. And just when you thought the market was going to tumble to start the year, it reversed course, led by the chips. Big news from TSM, and then you had SMCI last week. And it just looks like that theme with AI and the semi sector just on the tear, and hopefully something else takes takes the wheel. Maybe it's biotech. Look at the small caps underperforming, down 4% coming into today. Nice bounce today. We'll see how that goes. But just some really quick names, and I put Roku on. I mean, Roku's always on the watch list for me. At some point, it's going to have one of those 15 to 20% multi-day runs. I think it heads over $100 in the coming days. Went and got some calls all the way up into the 91s. Looked like it was going to just keep going, and then it just lost momentum. And it seems every time the market started to rebound, Roku wouldn't rebound in sympathy. So I kind of got a little worried there that maybe there was going to be a reversal. So I locked the calls in for a very small gain. Typically, I don't do that. But I might revisit. I was actually on the way up. I was looking at the February 9th, or even I'd go further out. I just don't want to get the premium for the earnings. But maybe some February 9th 110s I might get before the close tomorrow. Netflix reports tomorrow, so that could be something that could push in sympathy move in Roku and some of these other names, Disney. Right now, I think, what did I have? 30% or so, $39 implied move, so 8.1%. And if you start looking at the previous moves on Netflix, obviously there's been a lot of down ones recently until the recent rebound, but there's definitely been bigger moves than 8%. So let's see. So last quarter was up 16%. The quarter before down 8%. Quarter before that down 3%. Then the 3 quarters before that up 8%, up 13%, up 7%. And then the big misses, down 35% April 2022, down 22% January 2022. So if you look last January, up 8%. And this is the big quarter where they traditionally have ads from the holiday season. Well, also, speaking of ads, they'll probably, the big thing everybody's looking at now with Netflix is how is their ad-supported business going. That's a big driver. So, as much as I used to love Netflix, I still love the name. It's tough for me to play here, especially where it is now. Does it have a beat and raise? Sure. Is that going to be enough for it to be up over 8%? Is it going to take it to 550, 600? I don't know. So that's kind of where I'd rather try and do a sympathy move with another name that might be impacted by a strong beat and raise from Netflix. So I'll see tomorrow, see how everything's looking for Roku. I'll probably wait after the open so there's not another shake. We don't have one of those fake me out moves where it ramps great in the morning. It looks like it's just going to keep going, and then it just melts lower for the rest of the day. So I'll probably wait a little bit, but may look to get some of the February 9th 110s. That's kind of what I was looking at. So that's Roku, that's Netflix. AGYS, Agilysys reports after the close today. It's one of my top 5 stocks for 2024. It's been on a massive tear the last 3 days, actually the last 4 days, right? Is that Yeah. So today it's up almost 6%. It was at 74 bucks last week when I was looking at it for a bounce. And then every time that I looked at, the spreads on the calls were extremely wide, very illiquid. So when you have an illiquid stock, not the greatest volume on just trading volume in general, that typically translates into the option market too, where there's not a lot of liquidity, hard to get in and hard to get out. And that's the problem. If it doesn't go the right way, if you're in the calls and it's not going the right direction, it's very hard to get out without hitting the bid on the option, which typically when you have large spreads, you're losing money right off the bat because you're paying near or at the S to get in, and then to get out, you're going to selling at the bid. So you're just by entering the trade, you're probably going to lose money unless it goes in your direction right away. And it does have earnings after the close. I think it's going to be a beat and raise. Its stock might trade up near $100 or so, but the risk reward, I'm not going to spend over $1 on a contract that seems like somewhat a speculative lotto. It's not a name I've followed from many earnings. This will be the first earnings I've really followed it for. I mean, you take a look what it did back in October. The stock was at $65, had a beat and raise all the way up to $80. Is there going to be some kind of deja vu? Possibly. Am I that confident or convicted in that move? No, so I'd rather just sit on the sidelines and kind of wait on that one. But I do like the name. I like the sector. There's tailwinds with travel in the hospitality sectors in general is continuing to do well. It's going to do well in at least the first half of 2024, probably into the summer. So I think that bodes well, and that kind of ties right into TripAdvisor. Not Goldman Spectacular. Who was it? Why did I have? Oh, well, I'm thinking about Fiverr. Where do I have this here? The 17th. Mizzo? Why am I having? Well, anyway. So I mean, TripAdvisor. I'm not going to talk too much about Trip like I always do, but like this one, it's still sitting here. It was actually 21.50 after the close on Friday. I thought maybe it was going to be a gap and run today, but it's up from the mid 19s off the 50-day moving average from last week. Once it breaks $22, I think it's off to the races. So let's see if I can put the chart in the chat room. But let's see here. Yeah, it is up 4 sessions in a row, but I think it heads higher. Fiverr up nearly 6% today, 27.56. Got some of those February 30 strikes. Goldman Spectacular upgrade the stock to buy from neutral. They have a $43 price target. I think it heads into the mid 30s in the coming weeks. Love that story. Love that. The gig economy and a great play on that. A great play on AI as well. People looking to utilize the AI technology. Fiverr's a great platform to do that. I'll take a look at DWAC today. This is bringing me flashbacks, ticker DWAC, Digital World Acquisition Corp, which back when SPACs were hot, this was kind of at the tail end. I'm trying to remember the exact, was it 2022 maybe? At the beginning of 2022? I remember, I guess this is when Trump got removed from Twitter or blocked from Twitter. And then he was coming out with his own social media platform at DWAC. And I remember it was $12. Asphalt Cowboy, who's not on audio here, I remember him saying, I'm going to get some $18 calls. And then 3 days later, stock hit $300 in the pre-market. It's kind of like a proxy for free speech, I guess you would say, or and even a proxy for Trump, right? So if you're on the right, you're Republican, or you're Trump, that it's like a proxy. It's people against the mainstream or the progressive side, right? So it's almost like you vote. That's what happened when he got removed from Twitter. It's like, let's get the stock higher to show folks that were upset that he got removed from Twitter. We'll see what happens here. The company came under SEC. It had an SEC investigation. There were some concerns. I forget some of the financial stuff. So stock has kind of been languishing. But now as the political landscape starts to catch fire again, we're going to have an election. You have primaries. Supposedly it's running up because DeSantis dropped out of race. I don't get that. It just makes for a good headline. Again, I think it's just a proxy for Trump and what he's trying to do. So we'll see. It's one of those FOMO names. I was $37, $38. Someone posted in the chat room, and I had watched it last week, and it's like one of those names that you can wake up tomorrow. It could be $100 for no other reason than just because, right? It could be one of those Reddit meme stocks. So I was looking at it was the 55 calls or 50 cents when I looked. Then they were $1.25. Then they were $1.50. I don't even want to look what they are now. Uh, but it's very speculative, right? I mean, it could be $100 tomorrow. It could be $20 tomorrow. So yeah, the 55s are 515 by 550. So back when it was really on its run, there were calls. They opened up calls all the way up to like 400, $500. I'm not sure if that's going to happen here, but certainly could be one of those names. I'm kind of kicking myself for not just nibbling just a FOMO couple contracts to play for upside. But hey, maybe we're back in that kind of season where some of these names that have been, that catch fire just on a theme or short interest or, like the AMCs and GameStops of back in the day. So interesting story there. Fun to watch those. Even if I'm not in, I love watching those moves to the upside. I'm trying to think of some other things I was thinking about this morning. Agilicis, Netflix. Star Surgical's back here at 29.30. I mean, it's tough for me to add any again yet. I'll just wait. It's kind of languishing, right? Languishing is not a good word to use when you're in calls or puts. You want it to move, and I think their earnings are. Let's see when I can find when their earnings are. They already pre-announced or did some preliminary numbers. They haven't announced their date, but they typically release earnings at the end of February. So I'll probably just wait and see on that one. VKTX, gosh, what else to say here about VKTX? Every time it gets to $22, it just can't hang on to that level. It was at $22 all the way to the end of the day on Friday, and then just has a last 20-minute sell-off under $22. And here it is again. We're back over 22. We were over 22 in the morning, sold off a little bit, now back over it. I'm trying not to jinx it, but if it holds here, hopefully close over 22, and then tomorrow maybe I can look for some strikes. I think at some points over $30. And they have their oral data is going to be out any day, any week, any month in the first quarter of this 2024. So January, February, March, somewhere in there. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Altimmune, the last of my January is expired. It's volatile. I mean, I thought it was going to go back get up to $15. It just came under pressure at the end of last week. Maybe a name I'll revisit at some point. GPCR, one of my top 5 for 2024. That's down to $41. Looked like it was headed to 50. So I'll probably just sit on the sidelines on that one for now. I can't end a rant without talking about WW all the way up to $5 before now it's down here 460. Again, I get it. Like the stock is the so if you're a bull or a bear on a name, the stock is going to tell you who's the winner, right? And WW has not been there's been times where I've been able to trade it for some nice profits, but it's down here at nearly let me see if I can pull this up. Lose my train of thought here. I'm trying to pull this back. So last time was in the 4s. To start of 2023. Well, actually February, March. So, I mean, the market determines who's wrong or right. I've been, especially recently, wrong on WW. I still believe in the story, the CEO, where they're going, the sector they're in, the total addressable market that's going to be available to them going forward. I see a lot of ads recently, so that's something I haven't seen before. I don't know if the company's doing that strategically or because now they finally have their revamped app and ecosystem up for their members. Are they doing it now because they're more comfortable getting folks into the ecosystem? I would hope that's the case. I hope it's not out of desperation, but there's always that looming the debt, right? So that's the big, the canary. No, it's not the canary in the coal mine, but it's the it's the overhang. Right? So unless the stock really starts to take off, the company until they release great earnings and the stock soars, it's gonna be tough to argue about the debt because if the stock goes to $20, they can do an offering. So they have that backdrop. I don't think they will. It says in their filings they have plenty of cash on hand. They're not going to have to raise cash. So, and that's I guess the last one I'll talk about here is Baidu. Just a little clip here. Baidu is on its lowest track for its lowest close since November 2022. This China market's just in a tailspin lately. And even the rest of Asia, I mean, Nikkei keeps going higher, hitting all-time highs. And then you look, and there's the Hang Seng down 2%, 3%. one of these days or one of these overnights, China's going to do some kind of liquidity infusion or do something. The Hang Seng is going to be up 7%, and then you're going to look the next day, and Baidu is going to be at 110, 115. Hopefully that happens in the next day or two, or a day or two of this week. But if not, it's just going to keep. Same with Baba. I mean, it's tough. They're China ADR, so the valuation is a little different and the way they trade. So if China keeps going down overnight, Baidu's going to be, it could be low 90s before things start to switch. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I hope China does something overnight. The Hang Seng goes up 7-8%, and then wake up the next day and see Baidu gapping 105, 106, and if not higher. I think that's it, folks. Yeah, kind of choppy day today. So it's as much as I want to try and look to add some calls on some names. It almost felt like, and I put it on FinTwit and in the chat room this morning, it seemed like small caps were playing catch up today, and a lot of the names that were playing catch up were high short names. The Pelotons, obviously WW. Who else was up there? Wayfair, Lending Trees still going. AI, like Unity, Roblox. So, all right, folks, that's about it. Thanks for listening. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.